Angel City FC have re-signed free agent forward Christen Press to a new 1-year contract. She came back last year in 2024 in July, playing her first minutes after an ACL tear. It took a while, Sandra, but ultimately Angel City re-signed Press. Was there any doubt that they were going to re-sign her?
Not for me. And I don't think out of anyone in terms of, conversations that I've had about it. I think this was a franchise a long time in the making. It took a long time for California to even have one team, let alone now three in NWSL. And I think when you look at the player pool available at that time for expansion, and Christen Press and her long-standing ties to the LA area, that this was always going to be a homecoming and ultimately where she wanted to ride out her career. And so maybe it's not so much of a surprise, but I'm with you on that. It felt a little longer, right, than it should have taken. But I think when you look back on her time with Angel City, there's going to be some layers of wow, what could it have been if maybe something like an injury didn't come into play? But that's soccer, and Press has been very forthcoming and transparent about how difficult that comeback has been. And I think when you look at 2024 specifically, and maybe some of the highlights of NWSL, I think Christen Press and her return to play is absolutely on that list. It was one of the things that so many of us celebrated in terms of her return. Now, what that means for Angel City moving forward, it means they've got approximately 1 year with Christen Press to maybe kind of shake things up and do something special, because the timing of the contract is through 2025. And so maybe there's a little bit of energy of like, let's sort of just take things as they come and sort of see how they go. There was a similar energy around Marta as a free agent. What was that contract going to look like if she did make a return back? Some of these players are navigating different phases of their career. And so for Christen Press, it looks like a 1-year deal for Angel City. So we'll see what it plays out like.
It's a good move. I like talking about that because Press, we didn't get to see her full strength last year again, and I want to see that. So one more year we get with her in Angel City. Washington Spirit, guys, they've made some moves in their coaching staff. Longtime goalkeeper Nicole Barnhart announced her retirement a few months ago, and now she has joined Washington Spirit as an assistant goalkeeper coach. So you still get to see Barney out there contributing to the league. But even bigger, even though there's not a name attached to it, Christine, in a trade with Orlando Pride, Washington Spirit have acquired an additional international roster spot in exchange for $50,000 in allocation money to Orlando. They're cooking. Washington's cooking. They need another international. Who the heck do you think is on the horizon to potentially come to Washington?
I don't know, because one, I'm so excited about this prospect, because not that we didn't know that the Washington Spirit were all in, but I feel like they've just pushed their chips center table. Like, okay, we might have lost this final, but we're coming back stronger than ever this season. There's so many international players that I would love to see come over that I mean, is this supposed to be my total fantasy reach? Because like, can we
Please.
can we convince like can we convince like Bunny Shaw to come over?
No. I mean, that's not the
Who do
worst
I
thing in
have
the
to
world.
who do I
I would
have
love to see that.
where do I send the edible arrangement for that?
To
Yeah.
Chicago.
Chicago.
Chicago with Lauren
Imagine
Donaldson.
Bunny Shaw under Lorne. Come
I
on,
would rather
Sarah.
see her under.
Crazy concept.
Could you imagine Bunny Shaw with Trinity Rodman, Ashley Hatch?
That'd be
Unfair.
insane. No, just like
Unfair.
they could literally sip tea in the final third and just not move.
Exactly.
I know. No
No,
news yet.
I think they built something there great. I can't imagine who they could pick up. I love when you see that though, because I feel like that is like the ultimate dangling of the carrot in
No.
NWSL when they're like international spots, and you're like, excuse me, what? What do you want
Yeah.
to do? Okay.
News and updates, notifications turned on for Washington Spirit to see what happens with this international roster spot. Meanwhile, Houston Dash, Laura is hanging with us in the chat. Laura is unnerved how hopeful she is for Houston this year. They're making good moves. She likes it, and she's scared how much she likes it. Laura, I bet you like this one too, because Houston Dash have acquired goalkeeper Abby Smith in a trade with Gotham FC in exchange for $20,000. This is a really good get, Sandra, for Houston Dash to pick up another experienced goalkeeper in Abby Smith.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, look, what a journeywoman. I think at this point in her career, Abby Smith has seen some teams, right? I think this might be, what is this, like a fifth or sixth team? I
Yeah.
could be wrong. But this is a very experienced, capable goalkeeper. I think, unfortunately, we were just talking about injury affecting players with the press. I think this is a player that has had to deal with that as well. I think when she was signed to Gotham in that initial free agency period, I thought it was a really good pickup for them as well. I think went about 15, 16 games with an incredible season with Gotham, and then unfortunately picked up an injury and has had to kind of navigate that with her time there. But that has come to an end, and now she's going to Houston, which you have to take a look at their roster. Pretty big goalkeeper in front of her and Jane Campbell, but I don't know if that's maybe a tough scenario to have. I think when you look at Houston, you say, who's their starting goalkeeper? You know who it is. It's Jane Campbell. But something very unique is happening, in the women's national team program. There's an opening for the next starting goalkeeper, and there's a ton of goalkeepers, I think, who have been in the pool. And I think Jane Campbell is one of them. So maybe this is a little bit of Houston with an eye on the future. Maybe Jane Campbell's going to spend some more time away from club, having to get into national team camps, perhaps to get reevaluated at that position at the senior level. And so you're going to need to have somebody who is reliable, experienced, has good hands, can make good saves, can play in this league and make saves in this league. And so they went out, and I think they got one of the best goalkeepers to kind of help flesh out your bench. And I think that's a great pickup for Houston and Abby Smith.
I love, Sandra, that you took it from the Houston perspective, that they need depth, and this is really good. If I'm Jane Campbell, I am over the moon that my club has brought in another goalkeeper like Abby Smith that is going to push me to be better every single day in training. Right? Jane Campbell's spot is not safe anymore once you bring in another
Exactly.
first string starting goalkeeper. And considering that there is an open spot at the U.S. women's national team goalkeeping position for a number one, I'm Jane Campbell. I want that number one U.S. women's national team spot. And I need someone to be pushing me every single day to elevate my game in training and to make me uncomfortable, right? Growth comes from the uncomfy.
Yep.
And that's what's going to happen now at Houston with Jane
You
Campbell and
know
Abby.
who else will make Jane Campbell really uncomfortable, who's also still thriving? Fallon Tullis-Joyce. I think that'll crank the fires under her heels too,
Yeah.
because quite frankly, she's even the last match,
Great
like
game.
the
Great game.
derby, like
Great game.
I'm telling you, yeah, Jane should be shook, but like let's see some of her best performances come out of it. I love when there's competition like that.
Me too.
This is also just like
with United this past weekend. That's the game Christina's mentioning.
NWSL
Sorry,
regular
I assume
season.
everybody's in my carnival of a brain.
NWSL regular season too, which is coming much quicker than we all anticipate, and how we know it can kind of play out at times, even though this is a 2025 season where maybe there's no quote unquote major international tournaments for, let's say, the U.S. women's soccer team. There are a slew of tournaments that are going to take place, right? We already highlighted them as far as like the Euros, the Copa America Femenina. There are going to be breaks that take place within this regular season. The scheduled teaser that the league sent out already says as much. So the fact that there's going to be these breaks, you have to assume that there's going to be maybe perhaps some exhibition games that take place. There's going to be some scheduling. We have seen regular seasons where NWSL clubs need to tap into their bench, or they need to go into their depth, where they need to make those rotations. And you want to have these players compete. You want to still go out there and win. And so you want to make sure you have good pieces to slot in. And I think that is absolutely what Houston is getting in Abby Smith. They are getting a bona fide goalkeeper.
Cool. I love it. North Carolina Courage, guys, they've signed free agent forward Hannah Betford. She's there for 2 years through 2026. She spent her first 3 years in the league in Portland Thorns, and last season in Utah. That's it. That's our roundup for NWSL free agents and moves. Congrats to everyone.